Drake got big news. Cam Rising could still be coming back to Utah football. I'm sure some people listening being like, what are you talking about? Well, Kyle Whittingham did just say at his press conference last week that they were still waiting on a decision from Cam on what he's going to do. Now, they said it'd come a week to 10 days. We're actually approaching that deadline rather quickly. So it sounds like Utah's open to the idea of Cam coming back. Cam seems open to the idea of coming back. Really quick, I'm going to turn over to you in a moment. Utah should not want Cam back. Cam should not want to come back, in my opinion. But it's at least something that's being discussed, as crazy as it is.
No, please, no, don't. And it's not from the standpoint of, wow, I really do think Cam Rising would cook the Big 12. But there's a point, the shelf life of a quarterback in the NFL, we talk about a lot. How about the shelf life of a college quarterback? We don't talk about very much. This reminds me of a Charlie Brewer. So you saw Charlie Brewer go to Baylor and take Baylor to an 11-1 Sugar Bowl season where the Bears competed in the Big 12 championship game. And he was nails. He was great. And then at some point, he got old. Injuries caught up to him. He lost his fastball. When we talk about guys who have lost their fastball, Cam Rising has to be in that category because we cannot keep talking hypothetically about a guy, JT, you mentioned, was starting football games while Tom Brady was doing the same. A guy who hadn't played a game since Tom Brady was quarterback when he came out and was doing it this year for Utah for the couple of games that he got. There's no more. Like, well, yeah, we saw it a long time ago that he can play quarterback. Is that enough for you to? Here's the problem, JT. Here's the dang problem if you're Utah. This is what fires me up so much is I would have made the case that Utah wouldn't have been a Big 12 championship contender even if Cam Rising was healthy the entire season. You know who pushed back on that? Locked On College Football, Spencer McLaughlin. What he said to me was Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel goes to Oklahoma and beats Texas. Goes to Oregon, Oklahoma gets blown out. On both ends of that, before he was there and right after he was there, Gabriel was a big difference. Maybe Cam Rising was too. But the problem was Utah sold out for Cam Rising. Where did that get the OC, I should say? Fired. Andy Ludwig got fired. You know why? There wasn't a contingency plan. Isaac Wilson was never ready. He wasn't. Could he be a good college quarterback in 2 years? Yes. Could he be an elite college quarterback in 2 years? Yes. But he was thrown into a fire that was completely unnecessary, and at no point did he consistently look confident. And you cannot do that to one of your biggest recruits, one of the biggest recruiting wins you could get in the state of Utah because of the BYU part of this, and you put the kid in such a tough spot that now, if I'm a transfer portal quarterback, I look at Utah and go, well, who's their offensive coordinator? And, they rotated quarterbacks.
Have one right now still.
Don't
That's
have one.
another problem.
You rotated quarterbacks like I change underwear. Like people are just going one after the other after the guy. And if I'm a transfer quarterback, I see that, man. I know that when I go on my visit. And to me, keeping Cam Rising, you're risking once again getting into the middle of next season, game 3 of next season. He goes down and saying, oh, shoot, we don't have a backup plan. Instead, you take the car, you take the money, you take everything you got, and you pour, which Utah has resources, you pour it into a trusted transfer from Wisconsin, Virginia Tech, Florida. I don't care if it's Florida Atlantic. Somebody who has proven themselves in college football and has proven they can stay healthy. Not Cam Rising, who turns 26 in May. He will be 26 and a half when college football season starts. J.D. Pickell of On3 says it. He played a fifth year. Be in college, stay in college as long as you can. At some point, we have to stop wishing. Not from Cam Rising's standpoint. I'm sure he'd love to stay in college for the rest of his life. I would have too. From a standpoint for the University of Utah, for the coaching staff, move on. Let the kid go. Because if you want to win football games and be serious again in football, it starts with changing the guard, having a new era behind center, and it can't be Cam Rising.
Two things. One, real quick, it was reported that Andy Ludwig resigned, but yes, the whole obviously situation there was fishy. Real quick, Drake, what is the best ability in football?
I would say the ability to win. What are you looking for here?
It's good. Availability. I was looking for
availability. That's good. Yeah.
Good. Look, if you're looking at it like this, Cam has missed 22 of Utah's last 25 games. Like,
oh, God.
What are you doing from that point? You can't rely on him. And here's the other fact, which is something you heavily hinted at. Let's say Utah brings Cam back, but then they're like, okay, well, we know we can't always bank on Cam's health, but to be honest, if he was healthy, can we get a veteran quarterback? No veteran quarterback's going to come, because on the chance that Cam is healthy, they're going to feel like they're not going to play. And even if it was like, okay, I can beat Cam out, then the slightest struggles from that veteran you bring in, everyone will be like, let's let Cam back. Let's let Cam play, because this fan base flips very quickly. Drake, one thing I will say that is nice for Utah, and I'm curious how you'll feel about this. Look, Kyle Whittingham, I still think there's a really good chance he retires. It's still one of those 50-50 things. If Kyle Whittingham does retire, don't you think that at least helps Utah when Morgan Scalley is going and recruiting these guys, and you get the new offensive coordinator in there? There's enough newness, right? Morgan Scalley wants to do things a little differently. The new offensive coordinator is going to want to do things a little differently. That you can sell a quarterback on, hey, we're not doing this wishy-washy QB room crap. We're going to be one guy moving forward behind him. I got to believe that'll help Utah if they get the right OC and if it is Scalley at the helm for that.
Yeah, man, it's tough. This is a situation where there's so much volatility around the Utah program right now. From, Scalley is the guy at some point. It could be in 3 days. It could be in 2 years. We do not know. And Kyle Whittingham plays his cards pretty close to his chest. He can be a tough guy to predict, man. And that's not always a good thing. Sometimes as a Utah fan or somebody who covers Utah, yourself included, you'd be like, oh, wow, I'm expecting X out of Kyle Whittingham. You get the complete opposite. You're like, oh, shoot, what was that? And for better or worse, Mike Gundy is the same way. We see a lot of head coaches in college football who do things differently. And at some point, from the volatility's got to go away. We need an offensive coordinator. We need to know the future of our head coach. Is the head coach the defensive coordinator who's being appointed? We don't know the answers to those questions. So how do we start talking about the 26-year-old who's playing quarterback, who's throwing to kids who are 19, it's shocking to me that we could be talking about truly a 19-year-old Isaac Wilson in a quarterback room during the offseason watching first-team reps from the 26-year-old Cam Rising. That is a 7-year gap. That is an 18-year-old and an 11-year-old playing college football together. And optics aside, because it's not even an optics game of like, well, who cares? Throw it out the window if Cam helps Utah compete. I just don't think you can trust him to do that. And at this point, to your point of what I would sum it up as volatility, Utah needs something they can bank on, and it's not Cam Rising.
They do. And I think the tough thing, if you bring Cam back, you are alienating a ton of the fan base. They're going to be incredibly frustrated about the direction. And if you do move on to Morgan Scalley and bring Cam back and he gets hurt again, what a bad way to start things off. NIL, how does that affect NIL? If I'm someone who made the investment in Cam Rising, do I want to once again make that investment? Do I want to make that investment in another player? I might just be turned off by Utah at that point too. So there's a lot. I really think the risk way outweighs the reward, especially, look, sometimes the veteran quarterbacks work great. When they have the injuries that Cam Rising does at this point, they usually don't. So It's a really tough spot that Utah's in, but I do think find your offensive coordinator and move forward with a different quarterback. We appreciate everything that Cam did, but sometimes it's just time.
That's a great point. Is if Cam Rising had gotten hurt and they said, look, it's career ending, he's going to hang it up. This is a valiant, 27 gun salute or whatever it is. He goes off into the sunset. We talk about him as a legendary Utah quarterback and a big what if. We're getting into the range of like a Charlie Brewer who was a Baylor legend, and then you're like, oh shoot, he just fizzled out. He overdid it. He overdid it. And while I know we can all be, oh yeah, heroic, like if we all think the right things, I mean, he's still a legend in our book, but everyone's going to be actually thinking, just shoot, man, what a grift. It was a grift. So I think it's time you just salute, say goodbye to Utah, send graphic, tweet graphic, and then remain somewhat of the legend status that Cam Rising still has.
Agreed. And hey, Charlie Brewer, Utah legend too, right? To further your point with everything that happened when he came out to Salt Lake.
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah. Big oops there for Utah. Drake, you're the man. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.